I put things in map and I'm lumping assignments together. So like each individual homework has its grade, but that doesn't impact math.
I think we did the closure of class, so I added back notes.
We did do the closure of class. Let me just make that change in my sheet. Actually, let me just hang on to this for now. Is your name on this?
Because on the front of it I had notes and I was like, oh wait.
Okay. What's up? Go fast. Dad, I got water bottles if you just want a bottle of water.
Mr. Hudson.
That closet behind pie. Where pie is great. If you turned in everything else already, and I just put where's the closure, you can just give me the closure.
No, the kids.
Yeah, if that's the only thing I needed, you can just give me the closure. Hey, so I'll break a rule real quick and show you guys kind of how my gradebook works and what we're looking at so you can figure out as we move forward.
How is that making a rule?
What to turn in it, because I don't show my gradebook to people normally. So we're gonna greens. So today we are going to keep pushing our understanding of quadratics. What, Thomas? Why do I have your full? Oh, this fell out. This did not get caught by your staple. Sorry, this was just because it didn't get caught by your staple. Alright, so
Come out of this. Take your book. Take your book.
As long as everyone has those, it doesn't matter.
Wait, we did the homework for this.
Yes.
Yeah.
You already said that.
You did the homework.
Satya, nice job.
We have the homework today. But since he wasn't here.
So wait, is the reason that you're still supposedly not finished with your test that you did homework during class instead?
What?
Are you finished with your test yet or no?
Oh, I have a question to ask you.
Okay, but yesterday's priority should have been finishing your tests, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Then, and as I'm sure the sub said, and it just went straight through your head, you were working ahead on homework if you already did 515 or 521 or any of the other ones. I've still left 523 over there. But it will either bump into next week or next week on Monday we may just have a mini mastery because next week we do not have regular classes on Tuesday. We have Turkey Bowl and we're not here for most of the day. So I want to make sure that as we head towards Thanksgiving break and then we're very quickly going to be at like big holiday break, we're getting more comfortable with quadratics in a variety of ways. I do not expect that we do a lesson or two on quadratics and all of a sudden you know every aspect of it. So I love how CPM breaks apart this knowledge base to say, okay, now try this side of it. Now try that side of it. So today, what we're looking at in 49 is if you have graphs where you know the zeros and you know the graphic stages, right, open up, open down, did it shift left or right or up or down or what, can I match that up with equations just through a little bit of like investigation and thinking through, does that make sense or not? Now notice, there's 9 equations. And there's 6 graphs. So what I want you guys to do as a group or individually or however you want to work, however you work best, this is 49, is determine which graph goes with which equation. So what would be easy is on your paper, just write out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right now. On your notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then, if we say that equation A goes with 1, we would write A with our 1. And then we might put a little justification of why, right? Because then we will go over these randomly. Notice there's an equation for each of us in here. So we will go over this randomly, which equation matches which graph and why you think that.
Wait.
Do the instructions make sense? Not do you know how to do all of these right now, but do the instructions make sense what we're trying to do?
So we're matching equations we're matching equations with graph or graph equations.
Yes.
No, because you're matching equations. No, if you're matching if you're matching equations with graphs, then you have to do more.
No.
Yes.
Satya, what do you mean?
So, Satya, you do whatever you want to do. Shh, Jacob, leave it. You do what you want to do, okay?
No, can I
no, whichever answer makes your head happy. Dive in.
No.
You are, again, trying to make this overly complicated.
No, you.
I think he's referencing back to one of the kids my wife babysits, and she was doing this whole like 5-year-old thing. Like, no, you.
Oh no you is a precise form of language to combat someone else's argument.
And
So
by
if I
that,
say-
it means it's a nonsense argument that has probably 7 fallacies tied to
It is a comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years.
No, Steven says I'm stupid. I'll say no you. Anyways,
Satya,
it's a
how many of
terrible
these have you
comeback.
completed?
Which is basically just saying, no, you're stupid. You're stupid. No, you're stupid. And it's really dumb.
Okay, first one goes to B. Second one goes to.
Shh.
We're working as a
Stop.
group.
No, you're not. You're just saying things. You're not discussing it. You're just saying answers. If that's what you're going to do, let's just do this silently. Working as a group would be, wait, I can't figure out where B goes. What are you thinking and why?
So you guys do number one. A. That would have a positive y in it.
Yeah, it is B, I think.
Yeah, it's B. And it's also the only one with negative intercept. That's not 3. And also, that means that number 2 has to be. Number 2 has to be I.
What? Number 2 has to be I? Number 2 has to be I? Are you sure it's not? Okay.
It could. Number 2 couldn't be.
Number 2 can't be I, because look at the Y intercept.
Oh yeah, number 2 can't be I. Number 2 can't be I. I think it's E. Or it could be Y. I mean,
Yeah, it is E. When
It's
you
E.
multiply the x's, if you multiply the x values,
It's E.
you get the Y intercept thing like this.
Yeah, it's E.
If you want to, you may factor the equations or multiply it out.
Okay, C.
Like if you want to manipulate the equation, you can.
3 would have to be one of the ones where it's squared does not have a Y intercept value. I mean,
So it's not a negative. It has to be a positive. G.
Same
G
thing.
has to be 4.
yeah. So 4 is D.
Yes. What? No, the Y.
Yeah.
It has to be.
There's
no way. There's no other.
So 4 is D, you're sure.
Let's see. All the other ones have Y intercepts. Yeah, 4 is G.
4 is D.
Have to be G. Yeah.
Okay, what's 3?
Or no, wait. No, yeah.
What's 3?
It might be the 2x.
The Y intercept.
It has a Y intercept of 4 or 5.
You don't know that. You don't know.
You can assume, but
Yeah, be careful. There's no scaling on here.
So
Wait.
it would look like a 5.
would negative x squared, would the negative part, would negative A mean that goes downwards, or like an upside down?
This is why you're working as a team.
Guys, is negative A, if you have a negative A value, would it mean that it's upside down?
don't get number 6.
Okay.
So what we know about number 6 is it has an x-intercept of -1/2 and an x-intercept of 3/2.
Yeah.
So you're right.
5 has to be D.
Not necessarily.
So
Because
3,
it just means when I
what's
take
3?
the constant divided by the coefficient, it gives me that. So here, if I process it based off the zeros, we could say
6 is C.
that would give me an x-intercept of
The
-1/2.
Y intercept of 6 is negative.
Yeah. I think it's I. Yeah, 6 would be I, because look how.
When you write that out and you multiply by 2, it cancels out the fraction.
Yeah.
That's just one way. Like if I just take those zeros, that's one way I could deal with that. Now that might not be exactly what we're looking for, but like that's one way we could do that.
I mean, that is.
But that's not
it.
even
Factor
funny.
that out.
That's not possibility.
Okay, now we're
It's
just
2 is I. It's I. Right there.
That's what I is.
It's right there. It's like.
What's
On this court,
Wait, what
I
is
see.
it?
quite literally the equation of I.
It could be anything.
No.
A. I'm doing A. I'm solving A. I'm solving A already. Just,
It could be A, C, F, or H. I'm gonna do C. I'm thinking it's F. It's F or D. Wait, no, it can't be D. I think it's F. No, it could be H. Guys, it's H. There are only 4 it could be because we've already used the other one.
It is,
A.
but when I did
Guys,
It's A.
I don't like answering these questions. Because then I'll show up at Phoenix Fair and they'll expect me to
So
lie.
if you factor
No, I
A,
wanted to.
factor A,
I mean,
the only
it's a bit of a
zero
low
values
price
would
point
be
because I
the
can't
negative
do anything with that. It's just like a decoration. But if you like put a little hook on it and made it like a Christmas decoration, but it's already red and green.
Yeah, I don't want
There's
to.
only one X
Yeah,
intercept.
and the zeros for these would be
Well, you
negative
could make that
3,
like an
negative
option.
Yeah, well, there's
You
only
could
one X intercept.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
There's only one X
Well,
intercept.
you know, just a couple bucks.
Like how much?
Potentially more, especially if you have like if you're doing them there like live and people could request like, well, I want that thing but with these colors, like you could charge more for that.
I could just make the little segments.
Yeah, I mean that's an idea too. Be doing it live so it's also like they see what you're doing and the work you're putting into it.
I'm not saying you will. I'm saying if you think
So what are you doing to dump this?
We're gonna talk about it.
Continue.
That's a question not related to this.
Is it
What's
math?
9 plus
No.
10?
Complete destruction of property.
I don't guarantee I answer it, but what's your question?
Is there a way I could connect my laptop to a projector?
Depends. I have to look at your laptop, and I'm not gonna do that right now
Like
in class.
that people do it.
Does it
Or,
have
I mean,
does it have
yes.
any
Your
HTML
short
or
answer
an
is
HTML?
yes. The
Yeah.
question is
Okay.
how
Dude,
difficult.
Why wouldn't it have an HDMI?
Because laptops up until a couple of years ago didn't come standard with an HDMI port. They came standard with a VGA port or an SVO
Okay,
port.
I know.
Or mini
But I just
HDMI.
got this laptop.
Just void the
Yeah, but don't ask a
How do
jerk
you know
question
you
when there's a
just got
legitimate
it at
answer.
a garage sale? Like 10 years ago.
We'll just go around the room in order. Levi, when I look at A, where does A go?
B.
What?
No.
Where does A match up to? Not 1, A. So I'm going to give you each one of the equations.
A is equal to B. I like
None of them?
Well, that's where you want to
Oh, debate.
Debate.
Now wait, did you guys discuss this as a group?
I mean, Jacob and Nick and I discussed.
As a
He was
group.
there.
Okay,
That's
that's
where
He
you
just
want
started
to
shouting.
Levi, I'm going to come back. Lauren, if I look at B, where should B go? 1. If I look at C, Jacob, where should C go?
I don't have one for C.
We don't have one for C. Okay, so right now we have questions on A and questions on C.
know where A goes.
Satya, where's D go?
5.
D goes 5. Why?
Oh, let me. Oh, yeah, B is an upside down parabola.
And
There are no other
And
Satya and
Satya, that's not
how do you know it's going to look the way it looks? What sort of quadratic is that?
it's a square.
No.
Because the zero values are like opposite of each other, so it's
It's not a perfect square trinomial. It's a what kind of square?
is it
Why does it
different?
say
It's a difference of squares.
Why does it say
So
Y?
because it's not, that's an equals. It's
Like
just
for, like,
it's just the zoom. It's how zoomed in my screen is. It messes with the resolution. So D goes with 5 because the difference of squares parabola, it tells you that it's pointing down with the negative coefficient to the x squared, and the y-intercept has to be 4, which we could guess that that's probably 4. E, where's E go? Who was I on? Hunter, where's E go? 2? Why do you think that?
Explain.
Because you said you were like 2? There's a question mark on the end of there.
Okay, explain that for me.
What do you think? So you factored it? So what did you get as the factors?
Good job, you did that without
Or did you just check would these work if that was the factored form? So if you're matching one strategy, and I was wondering how we were going to take to get around this, if I know this, I know the factored form, right? I know x plus 6 and x plus 4, so I could just check, are there any down here that make that happen And E makes that happen. Or I could factor out the equation in E and find, is there a graph with the appropriate zeros? Either way, E does match with 2. We'll jump to Steven. Steven, what about F? Or what were you going to say?
I was gonna ask if this was a valid thing. So like, the x-intercepts up there, if you take the x value and multiply them together, you get the y-intercept. Is that like, or does that only work for like certain problems?
You'd have to be really you'd have to be really cautious trying to make that.
It will not. I just realized it worked for like 1 and 2.
I do not think it will work for every situation.
All
we
right.
could investigate, but especially because like we have an x. Well, we could investigate that, but I don't know of a rule like that. We could try it. Like I'm not saying it won't work, but I would say be very cautious if you're trying to say something like that.
Be dangerous.
All right, with F. What about F, Steven?
It doesn't go in yet.
You don't think F? Okay. So, Chris, what about G?
G goes with 4.
G goes with 4. Why do you think that?
Because it's because G is the only one that has no x-intercept.
Yeah, it has no y-intercept, right? So that makes sense that my y-intercept
Actually,
is
it has a
at
y-intercept
0.
of 0. You're wrong.
Yeah, it has a y-intercept of a valueless location.
Hey, I'm worth 0, but I split this.
H. Thomas, what are you thinking?
H doesn't go
H
anywhere.
doesn't go
Yeah,
anywhere.
H doesn't go anywhere.
H is dead to me.
Nathan, what do you think about I?
I goes in 6.
I goes in 6.
No, you're 13.
Why?
Because I
Said I was
can
6.
factor out the graph by the x-intercepts, like x minus 1 half times x plus 3 minus 3 halves. 2 plus half. And it seems a lot tighter than all the
Satya. You have a really bad habit of talking over anybody at any time. I don't know if it's because like you're a big brother and you're important or what. Like you got to work on that with school,
Big brother.
right? I get it. You have a lot to say and a lot going on in your head, but you are often very disrespectful to your classmates.
Okay.
Okay, like, I need you to hear me being serious right now. Like you got to work on this. I let like a lot of stuff fly in here, but like, you got to stop talking over people. It's not the Satya show. It's not even Mr. Hudson show. It's the We All Learn Math show.
I would not be
Mid.
tuning.
So wait, now I told you not to do this, but I like that you're like.
And then you multiply the whole thing by 2.
G.
Cancel out.
There's a 2. Wait,
Just make it easy. What?
like out there?
Yeah.
It's all the same
No.
thing. So it's 2x plus
I
2
use the
half.
4x squared, so that means not like
So you get
Oh, so wait.
plus
yeah,
1
then you get
and
2x
2x minus 3.
minus
So Thomas said, but this is actually 4x squared. I need to multiply by 4. What if I just multiply by 2 twice?
Oof. Yeah.
Or, and this is where this lesson's leading us to, this is not what we would actually want to do.
Multiply
Because
4.
that's gross.
Disgusting.
Right? What we actually want to realize is our zeros are a result of the constant divided by the coefficient. So the numerator of my 0 is the opposite of the constant. The denominator comes from the coefficient. So then here, and that works out.
Wait, what?
Haha.
But,
Opposite of the numerator.
wait, but what?
Also,
I see.
inferior fraction.
Multiple equations for each graph.
Multiple factor forms.
Okay, that is
Now,
How
A
that is
does go with a graph. Where does A go?
It goes with number 3.
A goes with 3.
Levi.
Because y-intercept of -3, right? And it is a perfect square trinomial. If we factor it and whatever, just means it just goes one way. Now, wait a minute. I have a question.
Yes. And we most likely do not have an answer.
No. Hang on. If I look,
Now for dramatic. Oh, Shane's confusion.
I look at A. I see this really interesting relationship. So go ahead and write down y equals x squared, like our parent function, y equals x squared. And we all know what this would look like, right? Parabola, centered at the 0. Maybe one of the better parabolas I've drawn. Still not perfect, but when I compare graph 3 with my parent function,
Whoa. What?
I just went 3, right? And my function became,
Whoa, it's as if you add it inside the parentheses.
Are you subtracting 3 then?
Wow.
If you're going to the left?
Then
Because
if
you'll
you
always
subtract
only
it
have
inside
one.
the parentheses, it would go.
You always only have one x, no, 0.
Jacob, you're so bad.
All you did
We learned that when we were doing decimals.
Yeah.
so wait, if we think about what the graph of h should look like, we could infer that it would just be 3 shifted to the right.
Yeah.
Okay. What if then, hang on, what if I change a and I had a +2 out there? What do we, I'm just going to leave this question hanging. What do we think then would happen, and how could we deal with our graph based off that? So this is what we're going to dive into for the next like 15-ish minutes, leading us to a really cool concept called completing the square, which we're not there yet, but we will eventually.
Square, what? I got a promotion. I am going someplace I don't know.
Oh yeah, why are most of these problems got like fine? Because people really like
They like to
parabola.
eat their parabola.
Oh,
So college preparatory mathematics. So when you go to college, you most likely know your job.
You have your own with you.
What?
Your job will be selling
I
parabolas.
don't know.
Everyone have their own
I
graph
already like
calculator.
I don't know.
You know?
I think I have
Oh,
like
Do you, Thomas? No, I'll just give you mine, just so we can all be using the same calculators. So turn this on, clear anything out that you need to, go to your y equals, top left button, y equals.
Yeah.
So now we can use some technology if needed. Okay, don't just assume that because you have a calculator in your hand you have to use it. So we've got some complaints.
My battery is at 0.
Yeah, see if it works for today, and then I'll plug it in once you guys leave.
Yeah, my battery's low.
Well, this goes to show that we haven't used them in a while, and apparently Mr. Hall's kids or somebody ran them down. I can charge these all up later. So we have these complaints. So in complaint A, I'm just going to read it off the screen so it's easier. I followed all of the directions given in your brochure on how to order a parabola. I tried to order a parabola pass through the points 1, 0, and -6, 0, only to have you send me the wrong one. Please tell me how to order the correct parabola. Your immediate response is appreciated. Perturbed in Pennsylvania. Dear Miss Quadratic, I'm very disappointed. I want a parabola that hits the x-axis only once at 5, 0. Yet I see no mention of this type of parabola in your pamphlet. Your company's mission statement assures that you will meet my needs no matter what. How should I order this special parabola? Thanks, Troubled in Texas. And C, dear Miss Quadratic, please help. I've searched through your entire brochure and I do not see a parabola that fits my needs. All I want is a parabola that looks like that. Every time I order this parabola, you send me a different one. I refuse to pay for any parabola but the one I've shown above. Please tell me how I should find the equation of this parabola.
Are these parabolas supposed to be like
What?
or something?
It's a joke. You're at a company that makes parabolas.
It's
It's
our
just
dream
it's
job.
trying to. You're fine.
Question.
Don't worry about the actual situation.
Question.
So here's what I want you guys to do, and then I'll take your question. What could be going wrong here, and what other information would we need to fix these situations? So for, like, go ahead and number on your paper. This is for 50. A, B, and C. So like in A, what else would we need to know, or would they need to put on their order for us to be able to exactly know what their parabola would be. Because they've just given us the x-intercepts, and they say that we keep doing it wrong. Then, and we're going to do this independently for a moment, B, what's their issue? Or what do they need? What type of parabola would satisfy their needs? And then C, how could we help them determine their equation or what information they need to send us so that we could make that parabola? I'm going to zoom in a tiny bit more on these. Take a moment, just on your own, on your paper, write what you think. By the way, that's 6 here because it goes by 2's. It's right there, that y-intercept is 6. If you would like to practice your interpersonal skills, write them an actual letter. You don't need to.
Dear
Perturbed
person
in Pennsylvania.
letter, I will write a real person.
Wait, their name's Perturbed? Oh.
Wait, dear Perturbed.
His name's actually Peter.
Bird.
Peter Bed.
Perturbed.
They should remember that's called trial bled. They should remember trouble in Texas and put damage in Texas. Why? That sounds like damage in Texas. Trouble.
What? That person's face in the order. Anywho.
We need about another minute to think through this on your own, maybe.
Delivery and
What does A need to tell us? What type of parabola is B? And how do we make an equation for C?
Can we just write out the equation for C?
Yeah, you can figure that out, sure.
Left side, I passed -3, right? Between.
Question: if they have the parabola shown above, why do we need to make them one?
Fine question.
Because we're making them a better one, like a real one, right? Not one on paper. We're going to send them like the actual parabola.
See,
How does that
Why don't
work?
they just make their own?
See, we
Is it
printed
like a
out
hollow-
red
Is it like a hollow parabola?
Yeah, we're like 3D printing these or something.
Wouldn't that
It's at -3.
It is -3.
Delivery from
So with A, sorry Thomas, what's up?
Is there a way to plot individual points on the
I mean, we can, but with what purpose are you trying to do? You would need to go in and make like 2 lists and have it plot the lists, and then we could connect the lists together and try to have it spit out a function based off the relationship between the values, but we don't have enough values here. So Thomas, we could, but the issue is we don't have like a table full of values. We only have a couple. What's the issue with A? Who can talk to me about what else we would need to know in order to fix this? Chris?
You might need to know the A value and probably the y-intercept.
So if we know like the intensity or the A value or like how quickly things are changing, it's really that A value comes down to the relationship between outputs. All right, so if I had a couple more outputs, I could determine my A. Or if I had the y-intercept, we could determine what our function should be. Right, because otherwise all we had is x minus 1, x plus 6. This comes out to be x squared plus 5x minus 6. So if their y-intercept is not a minus 6, we've done something wrong.
Then what if it's negative?
So we would have to change it. We would have to do something to fix it. In B, who can talk to what sort of parabola that is? It hits at 5, 0. So either probably like that, or like that.
Or sideways. Or sideways.
Or side. Well, but it hits at 5, 0. Like,
yeah.
It could be sideways, but that would then still be a special type of parabola. Even if it was the x equals, it'd still be a special type of x equals parabola. Satya?
It would be squared.
What do you mean squared?
Like maybe like x plus 3 squared.
So
Or
if this
one would be x minus 5 squared.
if this comes over 5,
X minus 5 squared.
and as we saw in the last one, we do the opposite. So x minus 5 squared.
Or it could be negative x minus 5 squared. Yeah. No, wait, what? That'll make the same thing. Doesn't matter.
So do you mean it could be this?
Yeah, but then that'll
That
make
would not give you the same thing. That would
Yeah.
flip your parabola.
So how do you make it upside down?
Yeah,
That would make it upside down.
Wait, but what? That would.
the parentheses.
Oh,
and then
you're
you
right.
add
You're
the
right.
negative.
So this is right side up.
Everyone be cool.
You're good.
I thought the equation was
Then in C, well, what we start with, what I think all of us could probably do is x plus 3 and x minus 2.
You have to put a negative outside.
Yeah, that's it.
Ah, but because it's pointed down, this is C. No, that's negative 3.
Yeah.
And positive 2.
Oh, I thought it was 3.
They go by ones here, guys.
I thought it was negative 3.
No, they go by ones.
Okay.
This is 6 up here. That goes by ones also. So that would give me x squared plus x minus 6, but
you
that's
have to
not
make it a
correct.
negative x squared.
So if we apply a negative to everything, negative x squared minus x plus 6, that fixes my y-intercept. And that is correct. Eli.
It wouldn't actually kind of be impossible to make a parabola complete. Don't parabolas go on infinitely?
Unless we set a domain restriction.
Yeah.
What if they didn't? They would get infinite money.
What?
How? But they can't sell it.
Depending, yeah.
Does it go some forever most times? Wait, couldn't they just give them a random parabola that zoomed out really far?
We've talked about this like every day.
No, but like to the
Parabolas
point
don't
where it
always
just looks like a straight line going downwards.
So, if we have Jen's toss, right? We're going back to the water balloons, and I doubt you need your calculator here for this. I doubt we need, unless you're just going to test things. We need to make an equation for this parabola. Jen's right here. And this is 51. So, we know the zeros, but one of them is 0.
So it would be x. Oh.
We know the y-intercept, but it's 0. And we know the vertex. Give this a shot. Is an x on the outside the only way to get an intercept of 0? Is that the only way? Somehow it feels as if we're putting more effort into the rhythm.
I got the question. I got the answer.
You can move on to B then.
Oh, what?
You can always move on.
Yeah, I couldn't move on.
Alright, well, what's your answer to Jen's parabola?
Negative x squared plus theta. Yeah. Excuse you?
Your excuse.
I was. You may speak.
What is it?
Negative x squared plus theta.
And that works?
Huh?
And that works?
I'm gonna check it out. Probably not. It's CPM.
Doesn't work.
That's not.
Does not work.
How do you type in the next?
That's a
one?
much weaker launch. Your launch. Whee!
That would be me.
No, but we're graphing Jen's.
So how do you graph? How do you put an x in this?
So what could we change that wouldn't change the inner? So at first you guys said, okay, so x and 0, so essentially x, right, from that, times x minus 8. And then you guys solved that. You got x squared minus 8x, but that's wrong.
Wait, what? If you do that, then you get this.
Lauren.
We can change the a value. We have it as -1 right now, and if we change it to -2, that's what I was going to say.
So right now this would totally be wrong.
What?
X squared minus 8x would be pointing up. So even if I made it negative x times x minus 8, that's still wrong. So Lauren said try changing the coefficient to -2. Will that change the 0? No, I can still plug 0 in here and get 0. So this gives me -2x squared plus 16x.
Dude, it's
That will work because when I put in my x of 4, you're typing something wrong then. You might be using a minus instead of a negative,
or you might have forgot to do the exponent.
That's a minus, not a negative. You gotta use the
There it is.
Guys, you gotta use negative, not minus. So here's the interesting piece that I think some of you are trying to look at, and we're running out of time. We might skip Al's. So the journalist then tells you this. Right, a factored form of a parabola ends up looking like a times x minus d times x minus f.
Wait, could you just like tell her to use the zero values and then guess and check to see if A is correct?
Well, did the zero values like get us where we needed to be?
No, that's why you guess and check until you get A right.
Guess and check doesn't seem very clean to me.
Well, it still works. It works.
So Al releases his balloon at the 10-yard line. It lands on the 16-yard line. In part B here, we have x minus 10, x minus 16.
Yeah. And put a 2 over it.
And then, what does the height of 27 matter? Like, what is that?
That's the vertex. That's the vertex.
So,
What?
where's the
You don't know
vertex?
the X value for it.
Where is the vertex?
Between the 10 and the 16.
Where does that put it?
13.
Okay, so 13, 27.
So do I put a 7 in my hat? Get ready, guys. It's gonna blow all of our minds.
Or he's gonna make us wait until tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that becomes x squared minus 26x plus 160.
Whoa!
Seeing as you throw upwards and not down, you would probably have to make it negative.
Nah, seeing as we are throwing upwards, so negative, negative, positive, negative.
Maybe she just got a
That
really
was
big
right.
disadvantage.
It's not.
But then that's also not right yet.
Yeah.
Because
Look, if the y-intercept is 27, the y-intercept could be in excess of that.
That's not the
A value is
y-intercept.
too little.
That's the y value of the. Are you talking about 27 being the y-intercept?
No.
Or this being
160.
negative 160 would just be like way down here, right? And our parabola would come.
Oh.
I mean,
Up
we
like-
did
like-
start on the 10.
Started on the 10, right?
Maybe do a 1/10 of it.
We're gonna pick this up tomorrow.
Yeah.
There it is.
I don't see that.
Or should I just do the whole interesting?
Yeah. Oh,
Give
boy.
Interesting. I also can't grow a beard. People normally do this if they can grow a beard.
Mr.
No,
Hall
we
also stacked a lot. He claps whenever he has no clue what he's doing. He went like
When somebody says something incredibly stupid and he has no clue how to correct them without being rude, he'll just clap and walk away.
Nice. Alright, so we're gonna keep investigating all this tomorrow. I gotta figure out which ones of these are dead.
or the second one.